Hi, hello. So for today's video, first I'll talk about what I'm doing. So the first thing is I decided I want to try like painting, like no line art, just slapping the colors down and rendering it. Every time I've tried this style of painting, it's turned out really ugly. So I thought I'd try it. I also wanted to maybe go over the processes for painting like this, because my current art style has helped me a lot with knowing how to do this, sorta. It's just now I don't have line art. But yeah. But first, if you like this video, you should subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, you should share this video. Oh, also, I keep on forgetting to mention this in my videos. I have my commissions open. Link to my website in the description. My portfolio is there. Contact information, so yeah, please commission me. It would be great. Okay, now I'm done chilling. Okay, so on to the actual drawing. So I used a reference from Pinterest. If I remember, this is the picture. So I didn't copy the lighting, but I did copy the dress pretty much. I kind of got hyper focused on drawing this one girl for like a day, and like I drew her over and over and over and over and over again in my sketchbook. I don't know why, particularly this girl, but I guess something about her outfit just was like, let me draw her 5 times until I get it right. And so yeah, I decided to paint her. And so for the painting process, I basically just I slapped down the colors, I rendered it as I went. So I put the hair down, I rendered the hair, and then I was done with the hair, and then I moved on to the skin. And then I rendered the skin, and I shaded the skin, and then I moved on to the hat and the dress and the eyes, and that's what I did. For anyone who's starting to draw like this or paint like this, I will recommend that you don't be scared of hard shadows, and shadows with like a sharp line at the end of it. Not every shadow has to be blended out completely. It's something I had to learn to get over, and it is something that a lot of people I think struggle with. I mean, I struggled with it, so, you know, like right where her armpit is, that doesn't need to be blended out, because there's like, I guess, a more defined area, so like that goes in. I don't know how to describe it, but there'd be a harsher shadow, like a straight shadow instead of one that's more blended out, than like on the neck where there is no like really defined shadow, and it would be blended out because it's like not a hard surface. I'm not really good at explaining this. The best I can say is look at pictures and blend where you think you need to blend. And if you know that a spot's gonna have a defined shadow, don't blend it. Like you can see with the hat, it's draped all around her face and her neck and shoulders, the shadow. And so because that's a harsh shadow, because there's sun, there would be no blending out of that. But like, let's just say the shading I kind of did on her face, that would blend out because that's a softer shadow. Yeah? I don't know if I made any sense, but I hope that's helpful to anyone who wants to try painting. Now on to the hat, which I am so proud of the hat. It looks amazing in like a real hat that you would see in real life, and that made me... I'm terrible at drawing hats, so that made me feel extra good about myself. I shaded it like the sun would be kind of behind, which in hindsight, I probably should have shaded it where like, because the sun is in the opposite direction, sort of, and I should have shaded it like that, but this is the first time me really doing this, and I was kind of just focusing on the painting aspect of it, so I ended up ignoring that part. But if I ever try something like this again, I will fix the shadows and make sure I'm doing everything right. But yeah, for this, I had my layers, I was rendering over, so for the actual painting part, like, for the dress, I was looking at my reference a lot, and I was thinking about how clothes fold, and what would happen if this was all scrunched up. And I was also referencing my sketch, because my sketch had places I like drew in where some of the wrinkles were, and I was shading around that. Another thing with my sketch is I left it on for most of it, but super low opacity, and I put my sketch in the middle, all my flats on the bottom, and then all my rendering and shading above the sketch. So the sketch would disappear as I was working, so I knew, because this is something that also can be effective to painting. You end up, if you paint all under the sketch, at least in my experience, you end up using the sketch as like line art, and then when you remove the sketch, it's like removing something without line art, and it looks really weird. So I decided I would eliminate even happening to me by rendering over the sketch. And so even if I turn the sketch on or off, it doesn't matter. If that, And for the dress, like I said, I was copying the wrinkles in the shading. I tried to make sure it was soft, it looked soft like fabric, because like the hat is made out of a hard material like straw or whatever the heck hats are made out of, and so it would be like a harder thing, while the dress is made out of soft fabric. So yes, there will be hard shadows, but there'll also be like more blended out and like calm, and except for maybe like the shadows that are like super defined of like this is where the sun is coming from. And as you can see, I'm doing that right now. It took me a while because I didn't want it to look too like weird, but I also wanted it to look like it was like golden hour, and so that's what I ended up on. Another thing is for the little white ruffles in between each little petticoat, I think is what they're called, I would shade it, and then I would add little like extra shading in the middle of like squigglies so that it looked fluffy instead of looking just like weird white stuff. And yeah, so this is a drawing. I'm really proud of it. It looks, for something with no line art and something I just painted, I think I did pretty nice. For the background, I just kind of shaded it, like I added some texture to the sand and the rocks. I also made the water splashing on the rocks, which you can see that right now. And for the water, for someone who didn't look at a reference, I think I did pretty good. I didn't look at a mostly because I kind of know what water looks like, which is a terrible excuse for not using a reference. But throughout like my childhood, I spent like majority of time like at the beach and fishing, and so like I've looked at like open bodies of water enough to be like, yeah, that looks close enough. I'm actually really proud of it because it does look like the water, like because the way the water is, it kind of shades itself, and it's this like, at least I know on the beach, everything's all like the water's all bumpy, and it's not just the waves, it's just the water moving. And I think I caught that really well because there's like lows and highs and even different highlights, and I think I captured that like bumpiness really well. I don't know about the waves, they kind of I could have done better, but I think they're okay for what they are, and I think and since also they're in the background, so they're okay. I want to talk about the clouds in the sky. So the sky, I know how to paint a sunset, gradient, easy peasy. I duplicated the sunset layer and then I blurred it so that it looked kind of blended, but it wasn't all the way blended, because painting like this, or just like in like general backgrounds or people or anything, you don't want to blend everything. Hard shadows can be your best friend. I'm going to keep on reinforcing this throughout the entire video, is that hard shadows can be your best friend. Same thing for these clouds. I blended out some of the shadows, but a lot of it was just hard shadows, because clouds are, yes, they're these fluffy things, but they're these fluffy things with like, when you look at them, they're like harsh but fluffy. And so I wanted to make sure they still looked fluffy, and that's why I like kind of blended them out. But I added like harsh shadows to it because they're like these three-dimensional things that like curve and puff, even though clouds, they're weird. I'm kind of terrible at drawing clouds, and so for these, I'm actually really proud because they turned out super duper nice. Like, they look like real clouds. But yeah, this is this week's video. I thought I'd make a video talking about the painting, or my painting process of like me doing like a different style, because I wanted to try it out. Yeah, thank you guys for watching so much. If you did, I Really appreciate if you watched, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye bye!